Meet the world of motorsport. When running is just too silent and the horsepower you're looking for has nothing to do with the animal, motorsports match humans with high-speed machinery testing the limits of man-made speed. While most motorsport takes place on dry land, the skies or the seas aren't exempt from the sounds of revving engines or racing lines as participants push themselves for speed supremacy. Danger may be the name of the game, but no motorsport is too treacherous for the truth. In Hollywood, when one mentions fast cars and The Rock, you can't help but think about the Fast and Furious movie franchise and the highest paid actor on earth, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Hollywood movies they're hard to make, hard to work, a lot of fun.
The Rock is also the nickname of the Principality of Monaco, and in motorsport circles, it's synonymous with the Monaco Grand Prix.
Monaco is a very special race. Everybody's enjoying, relax in the boats, but also having fun during the whole weekend.
Making its debut in 1929, this jewel on the Formula One calendar is not only known for its breathtaking city landscapes, but the prestigious location lures the richest and most famous fans in world sport. The circuit is both high profile and perilous, as elevation changes, tight corners and narrow lanes mean had it been proposed as a Grand Prix circuit today, it would have been prohibited because of safety issues. Three-time F1 champion Nelson Piquet said, "Monaco was like trying to cycle round your living room." Hence, any driver distractions could prove disastrous, even in the form of a billboard, like one featuring American model Jessica Pace.
In 2009, the drivers apparently were distracted by the poster, and that was very flattering and unexpected.
Well, it was every time you pass into that corner, you know, you have this beautiful lady looking to you, and yeah, it was every driver was just losing a little bit of concentration.
The unexpected occupational hazard was eventually moved to a helipad that greets the glamorous visitors that land there. Ultimately, the Monaco Grand Prix is demanding, dangerous, and it's a driver's dream to win.
The drivers love racing here. It's the ultimate test of man and machine. It's a traditional street circuit. There's penalties all around the place. You make a small mistake, you're in the fence, and your weekend can be heavily compromised. So we love competing here. It's glamour, of course, boats, sun, incredible weekend.
Coming up, the Triple Crown of Motorsport. In the world of motorsport, two single-seater series stand out from the rest: Formula One and IndyCar. Both open-wheel races, both built for acceleration and excitement. But the glaring similarities seem to end there, because Formula One teams build and develop their own cars on astronomical budgets, ranging from $80 to $480 million. While IndyCar use standardized vehicles and operate on budgets of between $5 and $15 million. With financial, technical, and circuit differences, to name a few, the battle between the two is heated. Formula One fans think of IndyCar as their dysfunctional, forgotten little brother. taking place on monotonous North American street courses and ovals where they can only turn left. IndyCar fans, on the other hand, see F1 as their pretentious relative, using genetically modified cars on Grand Prix circuits where nobody overtakes. In 2017, one race car driver decided to give both a go, in a secret quest to eventually claim the triple crown of motorsport: the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Whether it's the elaborate tattoo of an ancient samurai on his back, or the long list of drop-dead gorgeous models on his arm, there is a certain romanticism about Spain's El Nano, Fernando Alonso. Because Alonso has driven a race car faster and with greater success than any other Spaniard in Formula One history, and is considered by many to be the greatest pure race car driver outside his hero, Ayrton Senna.
To me, still today, Fernando Alonso is the most complete driver that's out there racing. You know, he's incredible for testing, he's incredible as a racer. When the famous, when the flag drops, the bullshit stop. He's always there.
His nation's only F1 world champion, Asturia's favorite son won it twice in 2005 and 2006. Between his first start at Australia in 2001 and his home Grand Prix in 2017, he tallied 32 wins and 97 podiums in 277 starts.
Well, I think they become sexy when they are fast.
Alonso's incurable romanticism, however, could have cost him even more World Championship titles. For one, Alonso could only bear one season racing alongside the hubristic Lewis Hamilton before bolting for Renault in 2008. The same season Hamilton won his first World Championship. And then in 2010, Alonso elected to join the legendary F1 team Ferrari, rather than fall for the advances of an upstart Red Bull team that instead gave the seat to Sebastian Vettel. In 5 seasons with Ferrari, Alonso finished world champion runner-up on 3 occasions. And on those 3 occasions, Vettel finished first. The German won 4 consecutive titles, while Alonso won none. Hypothetically, those 4 world championship titles could have been his.
I think the more you are living the moment, the more you forget about what's going on around, you know. Obviously, in my point of view, there's a lot of things that I enjoy combined with speed, the element of speed and engine involved. Any sort of toy that you can operate, drive, makes me happy.
Fernando's really happy you're happy, Vettel. In 2017, the sentimental Spaniard was lured into another unconventional decision to find some happiness of his own. In the quest to develop into the complete race car driver, Alonso bypassed Formula One's most mythical of circuits, the Monaco Grand Prix, the tax-free home to the martini-wielding wealthy, for a trip to the Brickyard, better known as the most mythical IndyCar event, the Indianapolis 500.
Well, I think there are 3 races in motorsport that they stand out from the normal things. You know, there are legendary races. It's Monaco, it's the Le Mans 24-hour, and it's the Indy 500. And from the very first moment that we are kids and we play with small cars or something, there is always this Monaco Indy 500 and endurance race in the 24 hours. So to have the possibility to participate here, I feel very privileged.
Alonso was all smiles on his first attempt at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
He's like a little kid. You should see his text to me. He's studying. He's probably watched 25 Indy 500s. He watched Ed Carpenter's entire race from an in-car camera. So that takes some sitting down to do that. So he's very studied. He's super excited, and I've never seen him so happy. So that's great.
What wasn't so great was when he killed 2 birds with one IndyCar in training. Nonetheless, despite having never raced on an oval before, he passed his orientation program with flying colors, while noticing the differences between F1 and Indy were more than just circuit aesthetics.
Compared to the F1 circuits, this looks, it is more simple, only 4 corners, but the spread, you know, in terms of time lap, in terms of the speed between the first and the last, is just small details that you can gain on the setup of the car. So maybe you change, you know, a little spring on the front suspension, on the rear suspension, you pick up 0.3 of a mile on that lap, and you know that makes maybe 3 or 4 places.
Alonso finished 5th in qualifying before putting in an impressive performance on race day, even leading for 27 laps before his engine blew with just 20 laps to go. In the end, it was a former Formula One driver, Takuma Sato, who took the checkered flag in the 101st stage of the famous 200-lap race.
I don't know, I just cannot believe it. Right now, I just can't believe it. This is unbelievable.
And while his McLaren F1 team failed to finish at Monaco, Alonso was busy being named the race's Rookie of the Year while pocketing roughly $300,000 in prize money. Not bad for one weekend's work, he clearly plans on returning to the so-called greatest spectacle in racing.
Before coming here, some of the questions were how you can trade Monaco race for Indy 500. You know, this is the best opportunity for the team, this is the best opportunity to score points. You know, I won 2 times there. I won 2 World Championships, so to, you know, drive around Monaco for a 7th place, a 6th place, even a 5th place, I mean, to be here, this is not possible to compare that thing.
For the record, the only driver in the history of racing to have successfully completed the Triple Crown is the great Graham Hill. The 2-time F1 world champion was victorious at Monaco 5 times in the 1960s and also took the Indy 500 in 1966, celebrating with a swig of cold milk. In 1972, Hill completed the feat by conquering the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
55 cars away at Le Mans. 24 hours to go, but you wouldn't have thought so from the pace they set in the early stages.
Taking place on the historic 13.5-kilometer Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans is the oldest active sports car endurance race in the world, where speed is compromised for durability. But despite the inevitable sleepiness that comes from trying to stay awake for the entire 24 hours, the racing remains highly dramatic. In fact, the most catastrophic accident in motorsport history took place at the 1955 Le Mans, where more than 80 people, including driver Pierre Levegh, lost their lives in a horrific crash. Safety measures have evolved since, but its inherent danger and the desire for drivers to give Le Mans a go remains the same.
It's really important for the most important car manufacturers, but also the most important drivers, because it is a kind of Everest of the motorsport. To race here at Le Mans, for example, to catch more than 300 kilometers in the Mulsanne Strait is like beating the Cap Horn for a sailor. So that's probably the reason why Le Mans is really exceptional. A race done for the manufacturers, for the drivers, and also for the fans.
After the break, racing with the elements. When one thinks of motorsport, wheel racing and all the noise that comes with it is probably the first form that comes to mind. There are the V6 turbo engines that have upped the volume once again in Formula One, to the more quiet atmosphere provided in the new Formula E series, with their electric motors sounding like angry kettles on a hot stove. There is the bump and grind that is rally car racing, And there is the forgotten Russian car rally, featuring the once symbol of Eastern Bloc driving, the Lada.
This is a community called Classics of Combat that unexpectedly attracted a lot of people. It turned out that many young people are fond of the Russian automotive industry, old cars, and as you can see, they do everything with their own hands. The concept is that cars are old and decrepit, but still go.
But the need for speed isn't just desired on four wheels. Sometimes all a motorsport needs is wings. Out of all the active air races, perhaps the most popular is the Red Bull Air Race World Championship. Established in 2003, the International Series features pilots maneuvering through a challenging slalom course peppered with pylons, or better known amongst the competitors as air gates. The pilot with the fastest time and fewest mistakes wins. One of its biggest winners is British aerobatics and commercial airliner pilot Paul Bonham. Born into a family of aviators, the multiple world champion understands that the sport is quite the spectacle. Hence, ensuring he doesn't get caught in the excitement is a key to success.
I've flown in front of big crowds enough to know how to block that out. I thoroughly enjoy the crowd, I thoroughly enjoy the atmosphere, but actually when you're racing, it can be a huge distraction. So it's quite important to be able to know when to look and when not to look.
But Bonham can't help but peak at what he achieved with fellow British pilot Steve Jones back in 2015, when they became the first duo to fly in a formation through a building.
As we exited after the first one through together, we looked across at each other to see that all the bits were still there, and they were, so great sigh of relief, really. So yeah, marvellous.
If flying a plane is slightly out of your price range, perhaps you'd be better suited as a drone racer.
It's fresh, it's a little bit new, it started off on the hobby side. It's the kind of thing that people can really kind of relate to. We've got loads of kind of young kids kind of entering the sport, and I think from a parent's point of view, they're out in the fresh air, they're learning engineering skills, aerodynamics, and it's getting them off the Xboxes.
Founded as an amateur sport in France in 2014, FPV, or first-person view flying, means that pilots only see what the drone sees.
Now stabilize for a bit before you go under. That's it, well done.
For this so-called synergy to take place, drones are equipped with cameras that provide a live stream to the pilots, who essentially see what their drone sees through VR goggles.
Well done.
But while you may think any drone will do, think again. These racers need to come prepared, with competitive drones reaching speeds of up to 140 kilometers an hour.
These are purpose-built performance machines. They are for racing. It's the equivalent of a Formula One racing car. You go to Maplins, you go to Amazon, you buy a drone, it's your average family hatchback. It's fantastic at a lot of things, but you couldn't go around the Nürburgring in it. They are built for speed. They're built for handling. Nothing is on these drones that isn't necessary, and all the stuff that is necessary is made out of carbon fiber and space-age alloys. So it's really kind of pushing the boundaries of what is possible.
Although still in its infancy in terms of staging major events, drone racing is on the up.
Doesn't matter whether you're young or whether you're old, you've all both got an opportunity. As long as you can see, you can fly.
Sometimes crossing over from one motorsport discipline to another is done with relative ease. Take John Surtees, the late and legendary racer who is the only person to have won world championships on both 2 and 4 wheels. But then there are some who have struggled when testing their piloting skills in another form. Like Marc Marquez, who attempted to go for a spin in a fighter plane alongside Dani Pedrosa. It's obvious the speedster from Cervera is better suited on a motorcycle racing in the MotoGP.
The award goes to Marc Marquez.
In 2013, Marquez became the youngest MotoGP world champion at 20 years, 266 days. his explosive introduction to the Premier class was rewarded with the FIM Rider of the Year award.
Yeah, I didn't expect to be the Rider of the Year because, you know, it always is so difficult, and with all that riders here, you couldn't imagine that in their best dreams.
Those dreams started when he was just a child, courtesy of a gift given to him by his father.
I started riding when I was 4 years old on a dirt bike that my father bought me. It had extra stabilizing wheels on each side, because I couldn't balance on just 2 wheels. I got faster and started racing in motocross events. And at 8, I competed in the Catalunya Championship and won.
Soon Marquez would win it all at the highest level of motorcycle racing, the MotoGP, in a rookie campaign for the ages. With 6 wins, 16 podiums, 9 pole positions, and 334 points in his debut season, the Spaniard became only the 4th rider ever to be world champion in 3 different categories, along with legends Mike Hailwood, Phil Reed, and Valentino Rossi. Yes, the Doctor, Valentino Rossi. While Giacomo Agostini holds the record for most Grand Prix motorcycle race wins with 122, Rossi isn't that far behind. Racing is such an extension of who Rossi is. When he's not on 2 wheels, he's often winning races on 4.
I just wanted to thank the entire team. It was a lot of fun and a much-needed victory.
The famous number 46, who many consider the greatest motorcyclist of all time, is considered the benchmark with which racers like the young Marquez need to measure up to. Having won 3 world titles between his arrival and 2016, he's ready for the challenge.
Being thick-skinned and mentally tough can be very helpful when you get injured or when things aren't going to plan, because it helps you not to give up on yourself. It's important to stay calm at all times. Experience has taught me that losing your temper really doesn't help. You never know how the future's going to turn out, but I hope that I'll be competing for many years to come, because I'm passionate about racing. I really enjoy it, and I'd struggle if I wasn't around bikes and everything that goes with the racing life. We'll have to see what the future holds, but I plan to keep on racing until they tell me, get out. You're not good enough anymore.
Still to come, the many models of motorsport. The beauty of motorsport is that if you look beyond the billion-dollar F1 and the higher-profile events, what you can discover are lots of other peripheral motorsports that are exempt of the exotic lifestyle, but just as rich with high-speed drama. If your desire is to remain as far away from anything remotely close to Formula One, look no further than tractor racing, held in Rostov, Russia. Ultimately devised to draw young adults to agriculture, the 15-kilometer track tests its races through mud, sand, puddles, and even fire.
Various kinds of competitions to show how the drivers master various aspects. Speedy driving, transmission case handling, changing it on time. Racing with loads of obstacles, trampolines and jumps, many challenges for vehicles and drivers.
If your kids aren't falling for tractors, how about enticing them to mow the lawn by introducing them to lawnmower racing? Boasting its own world championships, this motorsport isn't easy gardening.
If you've got spinal problems, then it's not a good idea. I don't think it's just, yeah, you know, obviously that hits your knees all the time, so you're wearing knee pads and then the bag, and it's just mad.
And if the grass is covered in snow, it's time for snowmobile racing. Many big-name racers have been seen riding snowmobiles for fun, and the jewel of this motorsport is the Formula One Snowmobile Grand Prix, held in the Austrian resort of Saalbach-Hinterglemm. An event that announces the start of the nation's ski season, thousands of fans pack the otherwise sleepy town to celebrate speed on snow. There's something about motorsports that get our instant attention. Whether it be the sound of the engines, the smell of petrol, the celebrities who watch on, or the money that is spent as fast as the vehicles themselves, motorsports are able to balance the seemingly unbalanced. Cold, crude metal and motor oil with the elegance and luxury of extreme speed. Long live motorsports! And that is the truth.